A very good morning once again, and many thanks for staying with us here on Morning at NTV for those that started with us right from 6:30. If you're just joining us from wherever you're watching in the country, across the region, and indeed the globe, if you are online, many thanks for choosing Morning at NTV. You find us at the Kickstarter segment, a look at the issues that are facing the country, or should I say, what the country is facing. And for this particular Kickstarter discussion, there is an ongoing strike by business persons in Kampala. That the action that began yesterday is in line with protests to the tax regime that has been rolled out by the Uganda Revenue Authority. It's specifically the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solutions digital platform that is designed to ensure the tracking and documentation of taxation is made possible for the part of URA as it tries to settle some of those challenges with the revenues. But it has caused a bit of furor and tensions, with traders saying it's unfair, especially when it comes to enforcement. The traders are also saying there are already a raft of taxes that they are grappling with, away from the fact that enforcement is usually hardline and involves some guns sometimes, especially when it comes to who should be put in line. I have with me the chairperson of Kampala City Traders Association, Thaddeus Musoke, with me this morning. Also joining us is the president of the Federation of Uganda Traders Association, John Kabanda. These two gentlemen are at the helm of the business community within the city. Later, we shall be joined by the spokesperson of Uganda Revenue Authority, that is Ibrahim Bbosa, who will be giving us an overview of what exactly are the pain points that URA has occasioned upon the traders. But let this conversation get underway with the two leaders of the business community. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, first things first, FUTA is leading this initiative, this industrial strike, or action rather, that began yesterday. Some shops are being closed. I do not know where we stand right now, because I know by the end of the day, some bit of negotiations should have gone on with the powers that be. Do you mind updating us on where we stand?
Morning, members who are seeing us on NTV. By the names, I'm called John Kabanda. I'm the President Federation of Uganda Traders Association, FUTA. We have started discussion with the government, and we are sure that they have confirmed that His Excellency is going to meet the traders on Friday. And on that, I'm just promising the traders, you have to see your president on Friday. And I'm assuring you that on Friday, I know everything is going to be solved. Though, I'm requesting all the traders to keep the shop closed also. Because I know, as you know, our government, they must change the position. And they say, if you have opened, no problem, can open.
Okay,
and
in other words,
I'm requesting my colleague also to join me so that we can come together so that these people can get a message that traders are in pain. We have a lot of pain on EFRIS, high taxes, and even the new taxes are coming. So we are advising our Commissioner General at this period. Someone can't advise you that you can cut your arm and you cut. Well, you see, this is a humble request to him. At this period, first hold on the new taxes. We can't agree on the new taxes, and at this period, the traders are on pain. They are crying. Traders to close when we are in a season of Eid, that one can show you that we are in pain. And I'm telling the government, our government, at this period, please, 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 you have to listen to the traders. We are the boss. We are the ones that we are paying what? The money. so that the government can move in a very good way.
All right. You seem to suggest that there has been some bit of adamance on the part of the Uganda Revenue Authority to listen to you. But of course, URA has the mandate to find all sorts of ways to be able to collect taxes.
Thank you.
And we shall be going into that a little bit later on which tax you should pay and why you think you should not pay in the way that you're supposed to pay. But allow me come to Thaddeus Musoke. Mr. Kabanda's submission seems to suggest you are at loggerheads. I don't know why. CACITA should be operating pretty much under the concerns of the traders. Why aren't you two seeing eye to eye away from the studio?
No, by the way, Mr. Kabanda is my friend. We have engaged him several times. Sorry, good morning, our viewers. We have engaged him several times because we have the common cause. Yeah. And we do appreciate his efforts towards the trading environment, to improve the trading environment in Uganda. We as CACITA, we believe in collaboration and even making partners. Just what we differ in is that when Mr. Kabanda came up with an idea of federation, we as CACITA, we are not part of the federation because we have other associations which subscribe to CACITA. So we decided to remain independent so that where necessary we can share views and even ideas for the betterness of the business community. So where is the difference? Why is CACITA not supporting this ongoing demonstration? Is that when we called the traders, we had several meetings, and after engaging the traders, ideas were formulated that why can't we respect Easter and Eid? We give chance to the Christians and also our Muslim community, because the fact is that the Muslim community in the trading family is also a very big factor. And when you look on the structural administration of CACITA, we have Hajis, our spokesperson, Haji Sechito, Haji Sena, Haji Kamad, and others. So there are many. So I don't know how they mobilized, but during the voting, of course, it won that let us give room for our comrades who are fasting, so that after Eid, we can see that if the government hasn't addressed our concerns, we can go into a demonstration. So later, when we had that Mr. Kabanda had set on 8th, the traders were arguing that the moment we are divided, then the government is going to win. Hello leaders, why don't you at least sit and harmonize? So we got in touch with Mr. Kabanda, we engaged. Yes, we had agreed on most of the points, but unfortunately, when I delegated my team to finalize, I think they never finalized with Mr. Kabanda. But the idea was so good to come together and see that how do we champion the main cause, which is causing an alarm in the business community. That's by the only what brought the differences. But there is no problem because this is charity. We are fighting for our own businesses. There is no way why should I fight Mr. Kabanda, why should I hit Mr. Kabanda. So, but it's just a matter of the different entities, but the agenda and the goal, we are aiming at the same goal.
Okay, I understand that perfectly. Perhaps the strategy that you're using is different. But let's now talk about the issues that are of concern. What is prominent is the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution platform that most traders are required to adopt. We've had sentiment that enforcement of this is harsh and that you've not been sufficiently educated about it. Yes. Just tell me about what you want URA to do. Should URA approach it in a way, for example, come to Chikubo and then talk to each trader so that you understand it? Then after a certain point, you're like, I think now we do agree. You can go ahead with this. Or we don't agree. Please find another way of doing it.
We as traders, we advised Mr. Musinguzi, our boss.
Yeah. URA Commissioner. Yes,
Commissioner General, CJ, that this system, EFRIS system, it can't work in our shops. It can't. We advised him that you must go to the manufacturers because these manufacturers, they blocked the chain of distribution. Now, they are the manufacturers and they are the distributors. Now, what they can do, they can put this system systematically in manufacturers and at least to those big people like the landlords, but not to us, we traders, because these days, traders, they are bayiribi. Do you know the meaning of the word bayiribi? They are just bona business zafuka zakweya. We can't manage this system. First of all, the traders, sometimes you see all the traders, mostly 70%, they are not educated well. And the business you are seeing, you can develop a business today, 6 months, you go back to the old business. Why? Because this business of these days, it is there, just everybody is a moiribi there. Yeah, business. You see? I think you are getting me. I'm going to mix the language so that my traders can understand me well. Because you know, some of us, they are not educated very well. Now, netumunyonyola Commissioner General nti system eno eya EFRIS tesobola kukola bulungi. Lwaki? Abantu bonna mostly abali mu business bonna kati beeya nga kyetaagisa bweba yakukola okusooka okusomesebwa ennyo, kubanga osomesa leero 50 ate mu business ne muvaamu 45. Kati tebagitegeera era twamunyonyola ensonga eyo naye n'alema. Ekirala, enforcement. How this man uses his enforcement, it is totally, the enforcers are very harsh, load. Kubanga ne bwe bakusanga n'essimu enemu, one phone in a box, they can ask you, you have bought it from where? You bring it. Abamu babba ebintu by'abantu, abalala babateerawo mulimo just to collect their money. Now,
so when they get you with the phone and they ask you where did you buy it, what do they want? Evidence, a receipt?
EFRIS.
Electronic receipt.
Yes. So, ono gwagisaba kumpi na mutembeeyi is a worker. Because someone can go to the shop, asks him, you bring this phone. I have a buyer. He goes with the phone. When he finds the buyer refuses to buy, he have to take it back to the shop. This man doesn't understand because he's a blind kid. Katugezako kumunyonyola fa bali mu maduuka. Kyovula bayita bitegera gamba, these people, they are bayayi bano. So mu mbeera efaanana bwetyo ne tugamba no, ekimala kimala, enough is enough. We have to speak the language that the government knows. That's
so strike.
To put the strike.
Mr. Thaddeus Musoke, I'm sure you agree with the fact that many of the business persons may not be necessarily comfortable. I want to use that word comfortable because when I say, he has alluded to the fact that not educated. Education is a relative term. There are people who are very educated. They might be unable to relate in a way that government wants to. But comfort is the problem, perhaps. And I'll be very honest, there are sometimes I also get uncomfortable with certain aspects of a computer. Yes. Now, and I'm sure that there are traders who are uncomfortable on a smartphone going through the various steps of
even the applications,
the applications and invoicing. And that is the challenge that you have.
Mainly, I think, is the approach which URA is using to implement this system. And by the currently, I do agree with Mr. Kabanda that the traders have rejected the system. So what is URA thinking? That now the traders are rejecting this system because they are evading taxes. They are avoiding to meet their tax obligation, which is totally wrong. The moment, even the approach which they used to implement this system, when they were introducing it, they said, oh, this time we have got you people. So the trader said, you have got us. So it was a little bit intimidating. So the whole approach was supposed to be redesigned. So as Kasita, when we were approached by URA, we tried to internalize the system. And then we decided, how do we partner with URA to make sure that the traders meet their tax obligation? So we were carrying out sensitization drives throughout the country. Unfortunately, when URA started implementing it, so complaints arose. There were so many. So it was like they had to revisit. They were adjusting here and here. You know, feedback is so important when you are implementing such a project. So when it reached Chikubo totally is a different business setup. The environment is totally different. Reason, there is a lot of competition. In our street language, was. The competition is so high. By the time, yes, so by the time you wait for that receipt to be released, at times, by the way, there are delays in the network. The customer has already gone, has gone to another, to another shop. So they need to adjust more so that even there are no delays. One time I went to a certain hardware shop. I was buying some cement. I paid during morning hours. It was around 8. And then I was sent that receipt. Later in the evening.
For something you bought?
Yes, because the network had issues. Even they sent it on my WhatsApp number. Okay. But just imagine if I was moving with my products, the cement, and then I was arrested because I didn't have an EFRIS. So URA needs to change the strategies of implementing this. But currently, I'm telling you again, the traders in Chikubo, they are saying no to EFRIS. The moment even I say, now the system is good, the system cannot, they will say, you see, the doctor was bribed, was compromised. So what we are requesting URA, can you even, for the meantime, stop all the operations, re-strategize, engage the traders. If the system is good, what is the problem with it? What's the problem with the system? But the feedback is very, very important, so that we also leaders, we are not having a lot of time to talk to our traders. But the moment you start saying, no, the system is good, they will say, are you mad?
There is something I need clarity on before I go to the gentleman.
But again, just a moment.
Okay.
What is causing the problem in the traders? It's not about even the EFRIS alone.
No, there
are so many issues.
The raft of taxes that already...
Even the VAT system alone. Yeah. The moment you go to Chikubo, let me give this scenario. Just this small computation. Just if you buy a bag of sugar, it's around 250. The profit on that bag is just 2,000. 2,000. But when you compute VAT, it's around 70,000. No, it's around 47,000. So you find that even the VAT on this bag of sugar is more than the profit the trader is gaining. So the situation becomes worse. If a trader supplies you with 4 bags of cement, of sugar, that's around 1 million. Then the withholding comes in. So the withholding, but now when you add 18 plus 6%, that is 24. So the costing just of the taxes will be 1,240,000. But the profit margin is just 8,000. 8,000. And then after the end of there, they come now. We need, on the 8,000, we need the 30%. Then on that 30%, there is rent, there is loans, there is kasasiro, even we pay for kasasiro, there is parking, personal expenses. So you find that the trader says the situation is unbearable.
All right, thank you very much for that submission. It also introduces us to something that we shall tackle a little bit later after we have completely threshed out and understood what the EFRIS is about, where the problems are, and what Uganda Revenue Authority should do. For that note, we are joined by the Assistant Commissioner of Public and Corporate Affairs at Uganda Revenue Authority, Ibrahim Bbosa. Many thanks for making it.
Thank you. Very good morning. You're
the man who is facing all the fire right now, and of course, Mr. Msinguzi too. But before I even get to the case where we must be able to understand Uganda Revenue's position to be able to tax, because that is the mandate that you do have. You seem to have rolled out a system of, I don't know even how to, that causes a lot of tension, and the feedback that is coming through is that you have not given chance to listen to that feedback and perhaps re-strategize on how the implementation or even execution should be.
Well, thank you very much. The tension is appreciated, and I think it is necessary and is expected. We are dealing with two issues here. One is a technology adoption, and where we know that in Uganda it takes some time because of who we are. You'll find that, just a quick example, you remember that we did have scratch cards for airtime some time back, and you know the hula baloo around that the removal. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, everybody went up in arms, the parliament went up in arms, it was impossible for us to be able to load airtime. Is what I'm saying. Today we are loading airtimes, there's no scratch card, and nobody has gone under, isn't it? So even with this kind of systems, we are managing a technology adoption, and that needs time. It needs careful implementation. It needs a lot of collaboration, especially with the users. There will always be issues of knowledge gaps and usage gaps. So these ones, it is something to manage. So the tension is acceptable. But we're also dealing with a mindset change. We are coming from a position, especially with our brothers from Chikubo, the traders, where in the past everything has been manual. You remember we are coming from a regime where people used to keep 2 sets of books. I have one book for my business that I hold dear to my heart. I also have another book for the taxman. So because we run a self-assessment regime, the businessman has to evaluate or assess themselves, then declare what they give in terms of profit for taxation. And that is how the system is. Now remember, with coming up with a system like the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing, it brings unparalleled, unprecedented transparency. That system will be able to transact data of what you have purchased, of what your stock looks like, of what you have sold. It will help you basically be able to file a return. All these things are visible, both to the businessman and are also visible to the taxman. Now, that mindset shift is unprecedented, where a businessman, the analogy I've been given by the traders is that you have now come into the kitchen. They have an analogy that they say, business is about secrecy. You get me? Business is about secrecy.
It is true.
So when you have a system that looks into the kitchen, there is a problem. So I understand them. There is a mindset shift, because EFRIS, or technologies for revenue mobilizations, they are the future of revenue administrations. EFRIS is not only in Uganda, it is used elsewhere around the world. You will see that in the East African region, we are the last to adopt. Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda is already using it, okay? If you look at the performance between Kenya, Tanzania, and Rwanda, the average VAT collection compared to their total collection is at 35%. In Uganda, our VAT collection is at 15%. And actually, we have just come from 13.5%. What does that tell you? That we have a lot of money that is collected in VAT that is not transmitted to the coffers. And I will illustrate. For the last couple of months, we have been in Chikubo supervising VAT. VAT collections have increased 500%. What does that tell you? So we have a situation, if you see how Chairman Thaddeus was illustrating how much VAT is on a bag of cement and how much profits are there. That just shows you that VAT is being collected, they know even how much it is, but we have many traders who are VAT registered that have not been remitting this simply because they're not using a system. It's important for people to understand how VAT works. And I'm sure that either traders have refused or there's honestly a knowledge gap. VAT is a consumption tax. That is the bottom line. VAT is not paid by a VAT registered taxpayer. How does it work? When you purchase anything, you're in Chikubo, and you purchase supplies, say a bag of cement, it will come with VAT, which has been put by the manufacturer. For you as a trader, that is your input VAT. When you are selling that bag of cement, you expect it also put VAT component. That becomes your output VAT. What do you remit to URA? You get your output VAT minus your input VAT. The difference is what you give URA. But what does that mean? That VAT does not affect your capital, does not affect your operational costs, does not affect your profits.
What you've just explained,
you are collecting VAT.
Completely topples the price mechanism.
Thank you very much. That is the arithmetic, and that's how it works. That's how VAT works. That is why a business does not pay VAT but collects VAT. At every stage of production, at every stage of value addition, if I'm a manufacturer, that is how it works. It is input output. If it goes to a distributor, there's an input output. If it goes to a retailer, there's an input output. That is why.
Great.
If I'm a supermarket, for example.
For me, I wanted to comment.
Just a minute.
If I'm a supermarket, for example, why supermarkets are challenged and why we need to be able to up our game in Chikubo is that many Chikubo people are not using the EFRIS system, but they're supplying supermarkets.
That are using the EFRIS system.
Are using EFRIS, exactly.
And are comfortable with it.
Thank you very much. But that because the Chikubo person does not issue an e-invoice. That means the supermarket cannot claim their EFRIS credit in that regard. You can only get credits on EFRIS if you're actually submitting or you're using the e-invoices. So it is important that anybody who is within that value chain is actually using an EFRIS system and issuing e-invoices. And that's why we started with large taxpayers when introducing EFRIS. Large taxpayers like the manufacturers and so on. We went to medium taxpayers like hotels, like restaurants and hardwares and so on. We have now gone down to the Chikubo because that's where also a lot of these supplies originate from.
I wanted to
Mr. Kabanda, I want us to be very civil. Your laugh is very dismissive of what the commissioner is saying, but I want us to disagree on principle. When he says and explains
but
about
it's deceiving people.
Okay.
What I wanted to talk to the comment or about to the comment for Mr. Bbosa is like Mr. Bbosa doesn't know business. The business, it is a secrecy, and these people they doesn't know anything about business because you see URA itself it killed the business of Uganda because for us as we traders now we are based on local customers. People are very poor, they don't have money. These people increased the tax. They blocked the chain of distribution. The manufacturer now is the distributor from one place to another. Someone who manufactures a commodity in the factory is the one who dispatches all that goods in the different districts from one shop to another shop. The problem came to these officials. I wanted to use some Uganda so that my traders can understand. Yes. Kyengezako kugamba abantu bano business bazita ne ba blocking a chain of distribution. Nti tewakyali manufacturer and distributor. Distributor yimukyalina yennyini akola ebintu ate ennamanve. Mwewunyiza nnyo bw'alese na comparison nga wano Kenya ne Uganda. Abira off topic kubanga Uganda, you can't compare Uganda and Kenya. These people, Kenyans, they have a seaport. We don't have a port here. Another one. Abagagga bangi eri government ebatunulamu omuntu bw'ayavuwala ebuuza Kabanda yali wano yalagawa. Naye wano tutya n'okukolera mu mannya gaffe. Why? Kubanga bw'obagambako bakufula enemy. Tetuli mu lutalo ne URA. We are not in the war with the URA. But these people batuyita n'abayaayi hooligans bagamba abo bayaaye bakumyala situbamanyi mu URA ojja kummanya lwampaka kubanga nze ndi musuubuzi wo era ebbanga lyonna tukola ffenna naye mulemye okututegeera URA has refused to understand us, the traders.
Right. That is a very important.
Kangende ku kyekyama
yangu amangu nnyo.
URA musanidde mutegeere nti obusuubuzi kyama. Kati kye mulina okukola munyweze enkola zammwe eri mu factory. Eno ife twabawadde omukisa n'essawa yakakati tubadde tukyabalese nga mu Kampala URA osobola okujja. Naye ekiddako kwe kulangirira nti ne mu kibuga tetukyabaagalamu kuba mwe mulaba nti kiri impossible. Abantu bangi EFRIS bano akakodyo ke balina tebaagala kwogera. EFRIS eteeka omuntu atali ligebo kusasula VAT n'emuteeka ku VAT akyogere wano ng'ensi eraba. EFRIS it puts someone who is not legal
shouldn't be paying
on VAT emuteekako direct. Omuntu ne waba asuubuza million 3 mwami Bbosa muganda wange takimanyi nti waliwo omuntu asuubuza million 3. He doesn't know that because he is a planned kid. He doesn't know the trader, the situation we are moving in as we trade down there.
Okay.
He's an official man, he gets his salary in time. He can say whatever he wants. But I'm telling you, Mr. Bbosa, you have to understand the traders. And we have started now talking the language you are understanding.
Okay, I'll be coming to you shortly, Thaddeus Musoke, and I believe that you have something very important to submit in reaction to Mr. Bbosa's. But let me return to Mr. Bbosa on the aspect of tech adoption. Good. We do understand URA when it wants to benchmark how things are working elsewhere. But the reality of the business community in the country is that most of the people are still working from what I can refer to as, I think, agricultural level trade, where the average pop and mom trader doesn't understand the fact that e-receipting and e-invoicing ought to be undertaken. Okay. And when they must be brought on board, they expect that they will be taken through a process of adoption. Now, the problem with adoption is that I might not adopt. True. And then I present to you a new problem altogether. Absolutely. It doesn't mean because I've not been able to adopt the system that you want, then I become not wanted within the business pipeline. Okay. How are you relating to the trader who evidently has trouble joining EFRIS but must stay in business? Because the reality is business persons, Chikubo accounts for between 60 and 70% of the country's business transactions.
Yeah. Thank you very much. First, directly to that point, is that we appreciate the adoption curve, and we're very aware and alive to it. And probably that speaks also to our size of engagement in terms of tax education, in terms of sensitization.
That's right.
Let's just demonstrate in the last, from November, when the Commissioner General was in Chikubo, and he promised people that he will get solutions that could work for them more cost effectively and also educate them. Compared from November to last month, we have been able to have over 80 workshops in Chikubo.
Over 8.
We have been able to visit 110 arcades. We have moved door to door in shops, basically facilitating, supporting businesses. On our list, for those who have registered for support, we have over 15,000 traders. We were given permission to have a tax hub put in the middle of Chikubo for 10 days straight. We have 345 business people who registered, having visited that hub to get assistance. Basically, we being able to engage is an ongoing process. We know that many people come into this ecosystem, others leave, so it's a continuous process.
That's right.
And we're working with many of the associations down there. So we are not stopping there. The engagement is ongoing, and that's why we believe that even when there's a problem in adoption, the reason is not going to the street. The reason is for us to get on the table and say, yes, thank you very much. This has been able to be done, but we need more, and let us also strategize and intervene in this manner. So that one, we are aware, and we understand when people have challenges with technology. Remember, we started with system integration. That was for big manufacturers. We went to EFDs, which the Chikubo people felt they could not use, the electronic physical devices. We have now come to desktop applications. We have come to mobile apps. If you can make a mobile money transaction on your smartphone, you can actually use EFRIS. We have over 10 million smartphones in this country. How many of those could be in the hands of traders? We can make a guess. But what people need also to appreciate is that a VAT tax registered person is that person who has a turnover of 150 million shillings annually, or 37.5 million shillings in 3 months. VAT registration is not for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And one of the things that we're doing in Chikubo right now, as we're supervising those who are on the register, we're also deregistering those who no longer meet the threshold. You are either onboarded erroneously, or your circumstances have changed and you now don't meet the threshold. Now that principle is key, meaning that this EFRIS business we're talking about, the VAT, it is not for everybody. If I am a gonja seller, if I am selling bananas, if I am
walking skits,
I am out of that paradigm. You should not even be concerned. You should not be worried about us. In any case, we have a different regime that takes care of those individuals.
All right. Thank you. I won't ask the question. I'll just let Thaddeus Musoke submit.
I had only a few questions, like 2 to 3.
Or just ask him with the questions, and then Thaddeus will also.
Mr. Bbosa, I wanted to ask you that some supermarkets which were very big here in Uganda, like Taxkeys, Uchumi, Nakumat, where are they? And what led to those supermarkets to vacate from Uganda? Just I want you to reply me.
Second question. You said you
second question is, have you ever seen anyone in Chikubo selling a gonja?
All right. Those
another one.
Hey, you said 2. I'll keep it to that.
Okay.
Please, you can go and Google.
I wanted just to ask you more.
Thaddeus,
anyway,
you've had Mr. Bbosa.
With Mr. Bbosa, by the way, the submission, you find that my mindset is so important. So there is no way you can make a trader adopt new technology with force. By the way, for sure, most of the association came in to support URA to see that there is that harmony.
Thank you.
Harmony.
Thank you.
With URA, because there is no way you can survive in Uganda when you don't meet your tax obligation, because they have totally invested a lot in making sure that all the loopholes which we used to utilize, they have sealed them. So what you have to do is to comply.
That's a plus for you.
So when you decide to comply, and whoever has decided to comply is saying we are dying. I want even to refute a point where I said that in Chikubo, that the supply supermarket, there is a very unique strategy which URA is using. There is no way you can supply a supermarket when you are not on EFRIS. So already, me, a trader who wants to do business with a supermarket, have to enroll on EFRIS. There is no need of deploying the army. Another point is that most of the manufacturers have been enrolled on EFRIS. You know why the country is crying about these bumbucha drinks? They are almost closing because they were forced to go digital. You have to put a digital stamp. So most of them, they're closing. And what the big companies did, they were saying, now if you leave these companies operate when they're not paying taxes, we are going to also to close. Now, how will we break even when also other competitors are not paying tax? So what happened? So because already most of the industries are enrolled on the digital platforms for URA, it's easier to know that Musoke is being supplied by Mukwano. So even you can call me for an audit that Musoke you received such commodities from Mukwano, but you are claiming you don't meet, you are not VAT registered. So there are avenues. And by the way, let URA try not to stop engaging the traders. By the way, I'm telling you again, we have been being taught the readings in the Bible, but even up to now I struggle somewhat verses in the Bible. So URA should not stop engaging the traders because mindset is not something so easy. And by the way, like Mr. Kabanda said, technology is not easy. And by the way, also Mr. Bbosa acknowledges, you have to go on to make sure that how do you adopt. It's supposed to be a process. But now when you try to force, and when I inquire from Kabanda, how is it? It's terrible. By that I'm telling you this, I've never seen anyone praising that system.
One thing I pick from your submissions, three gentlemen, is that you appreciate the fact that improvements must be made.
There is another thing which by the Mr. Kabanda brought, but I think I need to clarify whereby Mr. Bbosa is saying now the supermarkets are claiming that Chikubo suppliers, they are not on EFRIS. By that I'm telling you this, most of the manufacturers bring a truck and even provide these goods on credit to supermarkets. So Chikubo is not like the 60% you say. Chikubo businesses have collapsed. We had the big guys there, the Muzangandas, the what, all closed the shops. They went to other avenues. So Chikubo, most of them now are startup businesses. They are not like before. I'm telling you, before, yes, the business was okay. But the moment the investors, another calculation which I wanted to enlighten to Mr. Bbosa.
I hope it's not a long one.
No, it's not so long. We are thinking that it's a strategy of investors of killing Chikubo. Reason with the investors.
Repeat that?
Yes, investors of killing business in Chikubo. That's why I think they are putting a lot of force in Chikubo. Reason, there is no way now, if I want to buy sugar, I cannot go to Chikubo. I will go straight to the factory because even they can sell even one bag of sugar. So with this one, they are already tax exempted. They don't pay. You don't pay withholding because withholding was exempted. Then I just pay VAT. But when you go to Chikubo, almost have to pay 2 times the VAT. So you find that there is no way people will come to Chikubo. They have to go straight to Mukwano or another
Thank you very much, Mr. Musoke. I want that submission to be the one we begin with when we come back from the break. But as we close for now, I don't know, have you Googled those 2 answers about, is there a Gonja seller in Chikubo? And then apparently URA pushed Tuskies on Uchumi out of business very quickly.
The Gonja, that's metaphorical. Making a statement. You get me? I'm just trying to show you that there's a threshold that has nothing to do with EFRIS. If I am 10 million and below in terms of turnover, I even don't pay income tax as a business.
Now, do you know the people?
He has flatly rejected that.
Thank you.
Mr. Kabanda, let me go for a break. When I return, we shall talk about that and also understand the raft. There are also issues away from EFRIS, which are the various taxes that are already being paid. There are complaints about the fact that the average Ugandan is being harassed while the non-Ugandan trader or investor is receiving all the exemptions and the good treatment that anyone can get. You're watching MorningAtNTV. It's Kickstarter, and we are discussing the current standoff between traders, Uganda Revenue Authority. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're glad you're still with us here on MorningAtNTV. It's the Kickstarter discussion, and we're talking about the business stress test that Kampala is currently undergoing in light of, in light of the strike that started yesterday when some traders decided to close shop across Kampala downtown areas. The scenario is that there are some disagreements on this particular strategy for the part of the traders. That is down to, again, politics within this particular sector of society. We cannot dismiss politics from anywhere. Somebody was telling me the other day, broadcasters to have their politics. All right, that is a given. So I'll leave the politics of business out of this and stick to the matters that have brought or occasioned this particular discussion. Before we went to the break, you were asked questions, or Mr. Thaddeus Musoke made some submissions that I want you to either clarify or, well, come clean on as part of URA. Manufacturers who right now have the leeway to act as distributors, and as such, the person who is supposed to be doing that particular work is now out of business, yet you come at him as though he is in business.
Thank you very much. I think I remember a meeting that was held on the 8th of March where the leaders did meet the PSST and Secretary to the Treasury with the Commissioner General, the Director for Economic Affairs in the Ministry of Finance, the Commissioner of Customs. A number of pains of the traders were articulated,
That's
including
right.
this very fact. We are aware that this issue has been picked up by the PSST because we also find it unbecoming that somebody is given an investor's license. Probably you're doing manufacturing here, but you have decided to dominate the entire value chain.
Yeah.
If our country had a competition law, that is one of the instruments that could be able to tackle that kind of problem. But we're aware that this was picked up by the PSST. We know that the institution that has jurisdiction over this is the Ministry of Trade, and we expect that they will be able to show cause on that regard. In that meeting, everybody, even the leaders on the government side, said that that was uncouth. There's no reason why somebody is both a manufacturer, a distributor, a retailer, a muyiribi, and all that kind of thing. So it's a genuine concern. And trust me, even on our side, we feel that that is not the way to do business. So these are instances where we also rally with the traders and put our voice together and be able to advise government to be able to take a stance on that.
Okay.
They raised an issue of the kilogram issue. They are very aware it was taken up. A proposal has already been communicated, I think, to Parliament. It has even gone to Cabinet. We hope that even the upcoming meeting that you're going to have with Excellency, maybe we could even have a pronouncement. So these are usually policy aspects that are usually above tax administration, where we expect people at policy to be able to put their foot down. What we can do is to advocate, we can advise, because we have actually seen how they are hurting. The issue of the kilogram, we are behind them. We have seen how it has distorted business, and we can actually vouch for it. So those things, we are actually together with the traders. The issues that probably need to be given a different thinking are things on how we support the traders. They seem to be in pain on certain things that actually have solutions. You see the withholding tax that is hurting the traders? Actually, withholding tax is not an international tax. It's a tax that is only in developing countries like ours. And it was brought about to be able to expand the tax base. Because we have a large informal sector. We have people today with, for example, ranches. The guy will put cattle on a truck in a week, go to Lufra, sell, get his money, go back to his ranch, and in that space, there's no interaction with the taxman. We still have those kind of things in Uganda. So that tax was brought about that if somebody is supplying products or services to somebody who is registered, for example, VAT registered person, that person is incumbent to withhold a 6% if the amount goes beyond $1 million. So you may find that we had people like, for example, the artists. He comes, does a gig, and you give them cash and they will walk away. There's no, at any time they will interface.
No interaction at all with
so
the tax.
So that tax came that when that withholding tax is gotten, it is a credit to the person who is being paid. This taxpayer has to declare it to URA. When the other person declares or files returns at the end of the year for their income tax, they will find that credit. If they do not, like many don't, the government just don't go away empty-handed.
In
That's
simple
kind of a
terms,
tax.
if I were to pay Chameleon to come and perform, and then at the end of the year, in my tax report, where I'm trying to ensure that everything is done, I indicate that I paid Chameleon this amount of money.
And I withheld.
I withheld is
6%.
But Chameleon's tax returns don't show that he received that kind of money, and then that means it affects me differently, and for him, he goes away with it.
He actually doesn't. On your side, you will declare.
I will declare.
That information, actually, we use today to know who was paid what.
Yeah.
Especially, we have a lot of withholding from people who eventually don't come to claim it. People are supposed to claim their withholding. Some people, actually, when they declare at the end of the year, they have been withheld on many times that even the withholding is more than what they're supposed to be paying in tax, and we do a refund. But the point I'm trying to drive is this.
Okay.
If you are withholding exempt, and you can be, and we only have to teach our traders how you can be withholding exempt, because there are many businesses that are withholding exempt, what do you have to do? Comply. Anybody who has their compliance upright is exempted from withholding.
You seem
so
to
that
suggest
means
you want them to comply first and then be educated later.
No, that's what I was saying. For example, we are going to put a business facilitation center in Chikubo. That was agreed upon by PSFU and URA. That center is not for tax collection. That center is for basically helping the adoption of technologies, helping support in use of technologies, if there are glitches, access issues, but also support businesses to understand some of these domains. How do I become withholding exempt? So there are just 1, 2, 3 things you have to do, and once you're doing them, you are good to go. Many people are facing a burden with this kind of taxes, and they shouldn't. But simply because we have not given them the support, the advisory they need. So that shows the willingness on our part to be able to get more closer to the traders, to be able to have more consistent discussions, understand what they do, but also help them navigate some of the pain points of the law. That is a very good will on our part, and we believe that we can go a long way. If somebody is demonstrating that kind of will, in terms of engagement, in kind of support, in terms of hand-holding, do you have to close a shop? Really? There is still a lot of room for advocacy, a lot of room for conversations that can actually help businesses and also help us generate revenue.
They will be submitting to that. But in light of the meeting that you said was held, what was the blanket resolution?
On the 8th March meeting? In there, I think the takeaways were that issues to do with the investors who are masquerading as retailers and all over, that was escalated to
Minister of Trade?
policy
Level?
Yeah, it was taken on Cabinet by the PSST. The instructional ministry would be Minister of Trade, but because it's a concern, a general concern for businesses here, it is something that has been taken on by our Ministry of Finance under the PSST. So that one will wait for feedback on it.
All right.
Whether for clarity about that, we first approached the Minister of Trade, but the way they respond, it's like they are not the Minister of Trade. They respond at their own pace. So you find that when we engage the traders, because the closing of shops, by the way, has been desired by the traders for a very long time. We have been trying to contain the situation. That's why even we had to rush and meet the president. And then the president requests the permanent secretary and the team to come on 8th March to see that how can they mitigate and find possible solutions on the concerns of the traders. The concern of the traders is that the thing is taking so long. Like the EFRIS, you find that people have been complaining about this almost now 3 years. COVID Recovery Fund, I don't know why Mr. Kabanda didn't present about it. The government allocated 200 billion. Now we're asking, who took our money? No traders ever accessed that money because the system was good. Reason, that if you have failed to meet your loan obligations, if you have failed to meet your loan obligation, you can go to the bank at a very low rate, you get this facility, you are given a grace period of a full year for recovery, then you start paying. What the banks are doing, I don't know if they cheated us, but you go to so expensive loans, banks are auctioning people's property. If you have failed to meet your bank obligations, they don't give you room for top up, so business are struggling. There are so many concerns from the traders where they feel that the government, the way it has handled their concern, it's not fair. So that's why I cannot blame a trader who has decided to close. That's why I told you yes, for me I didn't close. But the traders who closed and Mr. Kabanda's members.
You understand?
Yes, we understand the concern. So it's just a matter of government handling the issues with the urgency.
All right. We seem to have spoken extensively about the EFRIS, but also the withholding tax. I'm sure there are a whole lot of other taxes that traders think are unfair. Or is there enforcement on any other tax?
Of course. URA uses enforcement in everything. And Mr. Bbosa has said that as URA, sometimes balaba ebintu bye bakola nga nabo biba bibanyika emitima. Omuntu government nekugamba nti temako omukono gwo naye n'ogutemako olw'obulumi ate sigana yeguteme. Kati Mr. Bbosa akimanyi bulungi nti penalties eziri ku accounts z'abasuubuzi tezogerekeka. Okola ka receipt ka 4,000 ng'oguziza omuntu URA enekwata nekuba penalty ya $6,000,000. Kati omuntu agaba ekibonerezo nga kyakutuga kutta kujjawo abasuubuzi bagudde ekitagambika. Eno EFRIS gye twogerako bw'oba ogikozesa tosobola kugenda ku presumptive tax oli gwe tusasula wa income tax. Tekisoboka. Kiba kitegeeza nti ogenze direct kubala bitabo byo. Omusuubuzi talina ssente za kutuuza muntu ku dduuka abeere ku ssimu mulindeemu katono ono agenda okukola IT. Kati Mr. Bbosa asanje bwe baba nga babawadde ebiragiro by'okukola babagambe bakama baabwe nti ensonga eno mukama wange gy'oŋŋambye sisobola gikola kubanga mukirabe bulungi nti tubadde n'abasajja ab'amaanyi wano. Nze nali ndowooza nti omukisa bakama baffe gwe bawa Abachina ogw'emyaka 10 wano naffe abasuubuzi baali badde nga bagutuwa. Mbadde njogerako wano n'abasuubuzi abamu bampeereza messages nga baŋŋamba okusobola okutegeera byemutegeeza kale gwe dda mu lulimi lwe tutegeera tulabe nti otuusizza ebyaffe. Kati ensonga lwaki ngezaako okugamba Mr. Bbosa ebigambo bino nti Commissioner General atuwadde room nga bw'abadde ayogera nti tuteesa n'ebirala naye Commissioner General tagikako wiini. Tosobola kumujjako buwanguzi naka musobola okutuula ne muteesa buli kimu naye okumuwangula noga nti omuwangudde tasoboka. So mumbeereyo Mr. Bbosa mbadde nze nteesa nti kano ke kaseera muyimirize ebikwekweto. Bwe mugaana okuyimiriza ebikwekweto tugenda mu kulwanagana ate nga tetwali kyagadde kubanga twafuuka abafamire. Gwe URA bwe mba nkwogerako mba njogera olwedde ku musuubuzi. Kati fenga abasuubuzi sawa zino stand gye tuliko tuga URA eveeyo ne official statement nti eyimiriza ebikwekweto ku EFRIS batubuulire ne way forward ku nsonga y'emisolo emipya gye tuwakanyisa awo eno tulyoke tugende mu nteeseganya nga tewali muwanguzi. Naye sawa zino bakugamba ffe n'ebikwekweto bikyagenda mu maaso kubanga ne bwe baba basomesa bo bajja n'omusirikale akutte emmundu esoja ng'akutte ne AK-47 bazze kusomesa abasuubuzi batya. Kati we twogerera ekikuubo osobola ntukisambiramu omupiira ne mu nnaku ez'okukola. Why? Kubanga bakama baffe bano bo babeera mu mbeera ya kukangakanga bantu nti kasitoma ne bw'aba wakujja mu kikuubo bw'alengera omuntu akutte emmundu adduka misinde n'akola ki n'agenda. Kati mu mbeera efaanana bw'etyo ffe tukyawanjaga nti ng'abasuubuzi twetaaga bakama baffe aba URA ebalivayizinga amateeka ge babawo okuteekesa mu nkola kubanga bo Commissioner General waliwo kintu kye twakomplainingako ekyabako nga bayingiranga wano nga mawanga amalala baba bayingirira bwereere wano nga basasula visa naye kati n'agamba tulwanire wamu. We are ready to fight with him.
All right. Ensonga etegerekese bulungi nnyo and I'm glad that you've been able to express it very ably in the language that most of the traders out there are understanding. Now the submission will be one that allows just everybody else, even the one who has not followed him as he was submitting in Uganda, to understand. But also help us take us through the tax regime and structure that allows for exemptions and some favors to investors coming into the country, and this seems not to apply to locals.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I need to throw some clarity on a number of things here, just for clarity and to shape perspective.
Yeah, very quickly.
One, every incentive, tax incentive, every tax, call it, let's stick with the word incentive.
Incentive, yeah.
Is provided in our laws. If you go to the Income Tax Act, the VAT Act, the Stamp Duty Act, all these acts, the YACMA, they have incentives inbuilt. And these incentives, therefore, are by law. And these incentives do not look at color or creed. Whether you are an international or local, there is an incentive for you. Where they say, for example, if you're putting up a hospital and you need $5 million, for example, as an international investor, there is a lower amount that has been prescribed for a local investor. For every incentive in our laws, it is provides for an international investor and provides for a local investor. The beauty is this information is available. Even if you went to the URA website, there is an incentive guide. Even if you went to the Presidential Protection Unit for investors, that incentive guide is there. Even if you went to the Export Promotions, is it called Export Promotions Board?
Yeah, should be.
No, the Investment Authority, that incentive guide is there. Basically what we have done, to make it easy, we have got all the incentives in the different laws because we don't expect people to be able to read all these laws. Put them in a guide. Are you saying
when the president says that I've offered such and such acres of land to a Chinese investor, it's the Ugandan investor who hasn't been able to get that land, hasn't read that the incentive is somewhere and is just not aware?
Okay. There are thresholds for incentives. Okay. Say one incentive that I could be able to remember. If you're building a hotel and that hotel is about 100 rooms going upwards, there are incentives that are in the law on all the materials that you're using, on everything that is in there. Those incentives are provided for both local and international. The difference is in the threshold. For the local ones, it's a lower threshold. The international ones, it's a higher threshold. If people are investing in an industrial park, those incentives are put there to persuade investors to be able to locate industries in certain places. There are incentives that go. Ugandans may not go for an industrial park, okay, but it's like it's a menu. You can always shop for what incentives you have. What we usually tell Ugandans, we have an advisory service as URA. If you intend to invest in anything, in any cement, in manufacturing, in fisheries, if you come to the Uganda Revenue Authority and you say that this is the business I want to do, what incentives are applicable for me? We give you that information free of charge because it is in our interest to have you here. If you did the same with the Investment Authority, you said this is the business I want to do as an investor here, what incentives are applicable to me? They are available. The challenge I think we have is twofold. One, we still need to educate people on incentives. Two, whenever you put things in writing for an African, so they say, people will never find it. So these are there, but they need to be found. The exception to the rule are what we call waivers. Those waivers are given by the minister, and those waivers have usually conditions based on what at policy they are trying to drive. Those ones have had a bit of issues because even as we speak right now, I think there's a report that is in its completion stage to see what waivers and exemptions have done. Because when they give an exemption to a certain manufacturer, it may be specific to that manufacturer because that person has promised to do a number of things. That may not be to everybody. if, for example, you've been given land, that means you're going to do construction, you're going to employ. At least I saw a preliminary of that report that showed that there are investors that have been given exemptions on certain taxes. And like, say, for example, income tax, you're given a waiver for 10 years, but those people become one of the highest payers of pay-as-you-earn. What it means is that they have employed people in their factories, and these people are paying pay-as-you-earn. So usually there's a trade-off. In our country, that is something that is a study and a discussion in itself. How effective has it been? What is the opportunity cost for it, and so on. But the beauty is, when it comes to incentives for businesses, they are written in a law book. We have compiled them into an incentive guide, and even I think if you go to your office, I don't know if we have given you materials in your office. All the materials we give our associations to distribute about their members, they are sector-based. An incentive guide is a must, because we know somebody may find something that speaks to their business, and there are incentives in different areas of business.
Small question. Are you following the incentive that those people you give the incentives, the local investors? Do you follow them?
Okay, good question. Like I said, currently there is a report that was instituted, a research was instituted by Parliament to find out the performance of tax exemptions in this country. So they looked at a certain period of time and said the tax exemptions and waivers we have given in this country, that report is to be presented to Parliament for them to make.
When is that going to be presented?
Like I said, the report is there. Let us wait, because it's. I know we are participating. We are participating because there's data. We also contribute in that report, but we are not the only people who are doing the report. It's done between
hope
ourselves.
That it will be presented to
it
Parliament.
Has to, because it has information that is critical for Uganda's investment future.
Okay.
Because we
Mr.
are
Kabanda,
on
before you submit on that,
to rationalize tax exemptions.
Yeah, time is not my best ally right now.
But can I mention something quickly?
Quickly submit after you that quick one.
A quick one.
Yeah.
People need to understand the difference between a presumptive taxpayer and somebody who is VAT registered. A presumptive taxpayer is one whose turnover is between 10 million and 150 million.
Yes.
Those are small businesses in Uganda.
Yes.
Those ones have nothing to do with EFRIS. If you are 150 million and above, you are the big boys. So we expect you that you can actually run. Yes, you can run business.
All right, now, big boys. Let me first go to downtown, where our reporter, Becca Mulinde, is standing by to give us an update on what's happening right about now. Then we shall return and wrap this conversation up here in studio. Good morning, Becca.
A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Becca Mulinde.
My name is Becca Senyoga Mulinde, and I'm coming live from the Central Business District downtown Kampala. This is the area that is very known for running the day-to-day business. And just yesterday, traders from the Federation of Uganda Traders Association had a standoff, criticizing or rejecting the idea of the 18% value-added tax that is imposed on every commodity that they sell. Before I go that side, I want to inform you that security is still beefed up in the area. As you can see, we still have military police, we have the usual police, and we have vehicle and foot patrols, as it happened yesterday. And I can reliably inform you that most of the arcades here where I'm standing, on my left is Mini Price Arcade, and on my right is Mini Price Arcade, and on my left is Grand Corner House. And I want to inform you that all shops are open, and as early as 6 a.m. traders of all styles had opened up their shops, and business had resumed to normal. Some of the traders that I've been able to speak to away from camera stated that they needed some money during this festive season of Eid al-Fitr, and some of them indicated that given that the economic times are really hard, they had to open up such that they get something that they can use to look after their household. However, they are still against the VAT of 18% that is imposed on each commodity that they sell.
Very much, Baker Mlinde, for the update on the situation on the ground there, that is in downtown Kampala.
All right.
It appears that some traders have actually gone ahead and they're doing business, but of course the concerns of those that continue to close their shops should not, of course, be swept under any bridge or carpet. Let me return to the studio. I'm speaking to the chairperson of the Kampala City Traders Association, Thaddeus Musoke. I also have with me the president of the Federation of Uganda Traders Association, John Kabanda, as well as the commissioner from Uganda Revenue Authority in charge of public and corporate affairs, Ibrahim Bbosa. Let me come to Thaddeus Musoke. Mr. Bbosa spoke extensively about incentives, waivers, and the structure that government applies in order to ensure that those who are actually doing business get a good deal. But it appears that many Ugandans don't understand what URA is doing in terms of incentives and waivers, or government for that matter. He said information has been shared, but we are not reading it. I don't know whether you've attempted to find out what incentives you can take as a businessman and whether you even qualify. We should be hearing the president announce that Mr. Thaddeus Musoke's businesses have a waiver.
Anyway, Mr. Igenyi, before I handle that question, there is something so important. Mr. Kabanda tried to enlighten about it, but I think he stopped in the middle of the way.
Okay.
The concern, another concern, which is bringing excitement within our members, is the high levels of poverty. Why? Because we have donated our market to our competitors in Kenya. Like Mr. Kabanda said, yes, we collaborated with URAs so that the visa of Congolese is scrapped off with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Trade. But you find that now someone who used to come from Rwanda, Tanzania, Congo, or South Sudan, or Kenya, now goes direct to Kenya, or China, or Dubai, because the taxes are very high. Leave alone EFRIS, the taxes are very high. Let me give an example. The kilo strategy for URA, if you pay in kilo, there is no way you can sell any commodity here. And totally is not practical. It was a strategy of denying us to import. Another issue is that even the 35, which they're saying, okay, the 35 is fair. For sure, the 35, when Kenya is on 25, already Kenya, even the VAT is 16. Here we are on 18. You find that by the time you go to Uganda, you go to China with the Kenyan, where even the money, the CBR is lower. And even yesterday, I got a communication, I don't know what's happening with Bank of Uganda, that they raised the CBR.
They did.
So you find that it makes the cost of doing business so costly and unfavorable. So what is happening? Our market here in Uganda, this is very narrow. You have to tap into the East African market. So what you are asked to do, why don't you evaluate that Musoke was bringing 10 containers, but now is into one container? Or why should all the traders have consignment just one container, like 10 people to fill a container? So there is a challenge which I think the government has to address. So when I go back on the question which you posed to me, it's like even this strategy is killing traders. That's why we are advocating, can the government institute an industrial policy, not a trade policy alone, where you can groom Musoke, an ordinary importer, to be your own manufacturer. I'm using your own, not local. Because at times when someone calls you local, that is local. But when you own, because we are Ugandans, so the moment Musoke can turn into your own manufacturer or investor, and you know now what is hindering Musoke from that? Why can't Musoke access those incentives? For us as Kasita, we just advise the government to scrap off all tax incentives and then we're advocating for non-tax incentives because there is a lot of corruption to access the other incentives. When I was with Mr. Kabanda in State House some time back, we told the president, you champion Chinese, even Ugandans can't access land. The president promised us land. It was during COVID, up to now 4 years. No one, unless Kabanda maybe went behind door and he took the land. No one has ever accessed that land. So there is a lot. One time I was with the Madame Bella, she's our member. We are praying at his new factory in Namave. She told us that she had to fight even to get that piece of land. Until we saw the president shouted, the president, this people failed me. So you have to click on even to access those incentives.
I do hear you.
So there are so many challenges. I think it will be a better debate to go intensively into discussing such a program.
All right, that we shall be bordering on the politics of the business there.
You don't want incentives out of the law. If an incentive is in the law, you can actually advocate for it, and if it's not given to you...
And by even from here, we are going to Parliament. From here, we have another petition to Parliament.
These people knows our weakness, but for me, I have some...
Very lastly, you seem to be interacting heavily with the traders out there who want you to go bare knuckles.
By the way...
No, by the way, for those that, you talked about something that some of them are wondering why you're very casual with Mr. Bbosa.
Yes.
Abatulabe yo ngoli musubuzi wano mu studio no omusajja ono atudde n'omwami oli because tulina otuteesa ebintu bino tekitegeeza nti temukkaanya ku kintu temuyinza kwogera. The reason they are here is to ensure that solutions bazifuna ebintu byammwe biberenga bikolebwako. All right, I hope my Uganda has effectively all right, now there is something I need to ask as we close this, and this one will go to you. Yesterday, we are counting the cost as a nation, the business that didn't go on. URA has the effective mechanism to help us understand right now how many billions of shillings or trillions are we talking about in terms of loss?
Currently, we don't have a figure because that figure would be a VAT figure, value-added tax.
Okay.
That would be actually directly affected. We account for VAT on a monthly basis. So by the end of this month, in terms of filing, we will know the damage that will have been created. But you know that there are other taxes other than VAT that probably would be collecting. But specifically for VAT, which is the biggest pain for the Chikubo trader, because it's what is supervised by EFRIS. We can only know at the end of the month on how we are performing on that. But definitely, closure of business definitely hurts the economy, it hurts collection, it hurts the country. It is not necessary. It's not necessary for the trader, it is not necessary for the administrators, and not even the government. That's why we think there are other better ways for us to be able to engage in constructive criticism for us to get meaningful solutions other than closure of business.
All right, Ibrahim Bbosa, the Commissioner for Public and Corporate Affairs at Uganda Revenue Authority, many thanks for your submission and making time. Many thanks to you too. John Kabanda, President of the Uganda Traders Association, as well as Thaddeus Musoke, Chairperson of the Kampala City Traders Association. Gentlemen, the conversation, the dialogue and the efforts to find solutions to this particular problem cannot be finished and done with on MorningAtNTV. So we are hoping that the dialogue and the talking will continue, and it should be done in a way that is brotherly. Abannaffe abo bagamba nti munange omusajja oyina okumwanganga mu studio bagambe tekisoboka. All right, that will do it for MorningAtNTV this 9th day of April. It's been a pleasure having your company, and I hope the discussion and the submissions from the official and the traders representatives here have emboldened your understanding of the impasse and what ought to be done for traders to return to business, and of course ensure that national economic transformation trajectory does continue as it ought to. I'm Chris Higenyi on behalf of my colleague Priscilla Regina Naloga, and indeed the team behind the scenes that ensure it's a productive 2.5 hours Monday to Friday. Many thanks. Have yourselves a lovely day.